Hello and welcome into another episode of Lessons in Product Management. I'm your host, John Fontenot, and we're going to start a new series on product management essentials. Okay, so we're going to take a step back from the minutia of product and kind of get back to the basics, right? The fundamentals, the essence of what product management is. I know there's a lot of aspiring PMs out there who are listening and learning and trying to figure out how to break in. And so this is for you. If you have been in product management for a while, or you're new and you want to listen anyway, that's great. But for the newer or aspiring PM, this series is really for you. We're going to break this into 4 or 5, maybe 6 parts. But part one, which we'll get into in just a second, is all around business acumen. Okay, and I'm not talking about needing an MBA or having a finance degree. We'll get into what that means in just a second. But before you do, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you're on Spotify, hit the follow button. If you're on um, iTunes or the Apple Podcast app, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Apple, which I know about half of you are based on the statistics, go and leave a review. It doesn't take long. Just scroll down a little bit and hit the 5 stars. Okay, it helps a lot, helps people find us, and I really appreciate it. And it's completely free, so you don't have to pay for the content. It's great. If you do want to help financially support the podcast, also go in the show notes. There's a anchor.fm/support link. Click that for 99 cents a month. You can help the podcast grow. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the essentials of product management. Part one, business acumen. So when you start at a company in product management, there's something you need to know about product management if you don't know it already. And that's you sit at the intersect of your business, your customers, and your market. Now, traditional Venn diagrams will say technology. If you've read my book, Never Assume, the 10 Fatal Assumptions of Great Product Managers Never Make, you'll see that I argue that technology is the least important part because we can solve problems for our business and our customers sometimes in ways that don't include technology, right? So it's not always essential, and typically I leave the how, which technology fits into the how bucket. I leave that to a mix between uh, UX and development to figure out how something will be implemented. I may have opinions that I bring to the table, but ultimately I'm not the one implementing it, and I have to trust my team to make good decisions. So what do I focus on? What do I feel like I have to own largely is the business outcomes. I need to understand the market. I need to understand our customers, right? And obviously the customer piece interfaces with like product marketing and UX, but I digress. What I want you to understand is that business acumen is essential, right? You need to understand what business you're in when you started a company, right? What industry do you play in? Who is your customer? How do you serve them today? How do you make money, right? Ultimately, you just got hired because the company has money to pay you, whether it comes from a VC or it comes from revenue from your customers, right? If there's no revenue, you lose the job and everybody else gets fired because the business closes. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out how is this business going to make money, unless you just count on VC money always being there, which eventually it goes away and dries up. Okay. So with that out of the way, the goal of every business is to make money. Yes, you have to satisfy a customer need or solve a customer problem in a way that creates enough value that they'll pay you for it. Yes, or create enough value that they keep coming to you and you can sell advertisers space to advertise their product because you have all the customers. If you're in a B2C context, that's a popular model. I'm not a fan of it, but hey, people have to make money the way they make money. Regardless of how you make money, you need to understand how you make money so you can always bring that context to the table when you're making product decisions. Because at the end of the day, whether if you're an ad-based business, you need retention and you need active users coming back to your product frequently, right? Lots of users coming into your product frequently makes your product more valuable for advertisers. Therefore, you get to sell more ads on your platform, right? And the more data you have, the more targeted you can get. Again, I'm not advocating that. I wouldn't start a Facebook type of business. That's not my cup of tea, but people do it and they have successful products that are out in the market that people use a lot. So all that to say, you need to understand how your business works and how you make money and what your goals are, right? So you have business objectives typically. tied to ultimately revenue, whether it's top line revenue from new user growth, whether it's expansion into new markets, whether it's retention and reducing churn, whether it's upselling existing customers, or kind of the land and expand model where you already have paying customers, but you want them to adopt more. So it's kind of a stickiness thing where if we can get them using more of our product, then we'll retain them. Obviously, that goes back to retention. Or it could be we want to bring them up this value ladder to an upgrade path to where they're getting more value out of our product over time, and we're realizing more value over time, right? So you need to figure all that out first and foremost as a product manager. That is essential in your onboarding as a product manager, is figuring out those key aspects of your business, right? Then once you understand organizationally what you're trying to attack, who do you work with more often? Are you in a position where there's a lot of legal implications? Do you need to talk to the legal team? What challenges have we faced in the past? Where have we blundered in the past? What do we need to avoid? You need those key business variables that have to do with legal and regulatory issues. Okay? You need to work with marketing to see, hey, what is the go-to-market strategy? What is our target market? What is our target customer and demographic? What market research do you have that can help us make decisions? What channels do we go to market in? You know, demographics, anything that's going to help you make decisions about the product, right? Which how your marketing team is taking your product to market is a key variable that impacts decision making, and vice versa. It's this nice virtuous loop that you guys need to be working very closely together between product and marketing to figure that out. But if you're just starting at a company, something's already happening and you need to understand current state before you can impact future state or ideal state, right? So getting a base foundation of how the business is operating today across departments, from organizational objectives to how product is developed at your company, to how that product is taken to market. What's your go-to-market strategy? Is it sales-led motion? Is it a product-led motion? What are the levers you pull on for different metrics that you're trying to achieve? All those things are like what you need to be trying to figure out in your first 30 days, because it is the essential baseline information for everything else, right? In the next episode, we're going to talk about understanding your customers and the market, which is kind of the next step. And you're going to get some of that in the internal conversations, but now you need to go external. But again, that'll be next week's episode. But in those first 30 days, it is essential to understand your business, because ultimately, if you don't help your business become successful, you will no longer be in a position to help your customers be successful, right? And there's a symbiotic relationship where you make your business successful by finding ways to help your customers be successful in a way that meets your business objectives. So you have to keep a dual lens. You can't be all business, because that leads to ethical problems, which we've seen over time. And you can't be all customer, because you might add a whole lot of value to your customers in a way that you can't realize that value back as a business. Therefore, you aren't making money, or you aren't making the kind of money that allows you to invest and compete against your competitors. So a lot of variables to take in, but getting to understand your business intimately and the different players within your company, your teammates, your cross-functional partners, those are essential parts of the business and what you should be focused on first and foremost when starting in a product role. So I hope this is helpful. If you are making that transition in a product, or you've been in a company for a while and maybe things are just kind of flowing for you and you're making a transition into another company and you're like, oh crap, how do I do this onboarding thing? I hope this helps. So thanks for joining me today for another lesson in product management. Again, before you go, if you haven't hit that like or subscribe button, if you haven't given us a 5-star rating, please go ahead and do so. It really helps out. And I'll see you next week for another lesson in product management. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're watching or if you're listening on the podcast, make sure that you rate and review and subscribe or follow if you haven't already. And thanks for joining me this week, and we'll see you next week for another lesson in product management.